Hello, everyone, and welcome to an information session about online Catawba, our Catawba County Schools K-12 Virtual Learning Academy. This session is being recorded for those of you who are interested in more information but are not able to tune into our Tuesday information sessions or as even a supplement to that. So welcome to the session. My name is Terry Hall. I'm the Director of Online Learning for Catawba County Schools, and I'm also the Principal of Online Catawba. So this session is specific to Online Catawba, and many folks are familiar with different things that we do with online learning, so I just wanted to point that out. We also supplement our Online Catawba Academy with NC Virtual, which is provided through the State Department, and occasionally with Apex Learning as well. But this session is specific to Online Catawba. So before we talk about what Online Catawba is, it's important to understand what it is not. And it is not the emergency remote learning that many folks experienced in the spring, in March of 2020, as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic. This is a complete virtual learning environment, so it's important to understand that that is completely separate and completely different from Online Catawba. So now let's talk a little bit about what is Online Catawba. So this is our fully virtual academy. We designed this academy back in 2017-18 as a way to meet the needs of the community in Catawba County. So folks around the county were asking for alternative learning options, one of which they really needed the flexibility for their families. Very often what we hear is that the traditional school schedule does not fit their lifestyle. And so Online Catawba was created. And now, beginning for this school year, Online Catawba will serve students in grades K through 12, and we will be able to provide some synchronous or some real-time instruction for our students. Now, that being said, this synchronous instruction will be optional because we know that the flexibility of not having to be in front of the computer at all times or at a specific time was very important to many of our families who are already with Online Catawba. And we currently have about 1,000 students participating, and we know that number is going to grow for the 2021 school year. So how does Online Catawba work? Our teachers in Catawba County Schools develop online courses, and they use the state curriculum from North Carolina. And so this is not an off-the-shelf curriculum that you could purchase. This is something that our teachers have very carefully worked with our curriculum and instruction specialists. We have a team of specialists who are specialized in very specific content areas, whether it be reading, science, math, social studies, different arts. We work with them to develop modules that are delivered online using Canvas, which is a learning management system. And so the modules are rolled out each week, and every week on Sunday, the new module is released to students. And then any assignments or any work that is happening throughout the week is due to be turned back in through Canvas by Saturday night at 11:59. And so that's the weekly structure of Canvas. So there'll be recorded videos, there'll be some opportunities for synchronous instruction throughout that, there'll be assessments, there'll be projects, everything will be delivered through those weekly modules. So enrollment. So it's important to understand that the students will be enrolled in an actual school building, one of our Catawba County schools, and it'll be the school that is closest to where they live geographically. So we also know that we have lots of kids in our program who come to us who reside outside of the bounds of Catawba County. And so they submit a transfer application to do that. And at the very end of this presentation, there is a hyperlink that you can see where to go to for that transfer application. So students are going to be enrolled in Online Catawba through a physical school, and we'll refer to that as their base school. So at the base school, they'll be able to pick up things like their Chromebook, any kind of materials such as their textbooks, any kind of workbooks or things of that nature. Also, Online Catawba kids can participate in anything that seated kids participate in. So whether that is a field trip, school dances, sports, and those kinds of things. So for enrollment purposes, we still refer to a school as their base school, and that's just where they'll be enrolled in Power School, which is our student information system. So parent guardians, you make a completely separate type of a commitment when enrolling your students in a virtual academy. And so, first and foremost, this is a 1-year commitment. We know that we will probably have to be flexible at some point with this due to like different medical issues that may occur during this school year. So right now we're asking for the 1-year commitment and knowing that there's a possibility that due to the COVID-19 situation that we may need to be flexible. But for right now, it's a 1-year commitment. Additionally, we want parents and guardians to also understand that you're committing to a different level of interaction in education with your child. You will be helping to facilitate either their transition to online learning or their beginning with online learning as we begin with this year with kindergartners. And so your role will be to help your student navigate their coursework each week, help them manage their time, encourage students to ask questions. That's one of the greatest values that we see time and again with our online learners. They learn how to ask questions and advocate for their own education, which is a wonderful, wonderful process. If we could gift that to every student, we would certainly do that. But we see that happen with our online learners. So particularly in the beginning, parents of older students, your role will be very much just getting students used to that transition to an online learning environment, helping them manage time with their weekly assignment submissions and things of that nature. And you will be the most key partner with the teachers. The students are going to have different teachers in their content areas. Earlier grades will just have one teacher, of course, but your role is primarily as a partner with that teacher to assist as the facilitator of that of this new virtual learning environment for your students. Okay, so what is required? Middle and elementary school students are required to take the 4 core classes. That's reading, math, science, and social studies. And typically in a non-COVID environment, we have courses that are all online, or we provide those flexible options where students can take face-to-face. Now, we know that with the face-to-face with COVID, that could change some. And so what I'm telling you now is what we typically have. Just keep in mind that we will have to provide any of the social distancing or any of those things that would be in place for a normal face-to-face environment. So typically I'll give you an example. If the 4 core classes, reading, math, science, and social studies, we have students who take, for example, reading, science, and social studies through online Catawba, but they come to school for math and take a face-to-face seated math class, which is perfectly fine. And it's completely optional. So you don't have to do that, but just so that you know that flexibility is there in case you need that the first year or the second year or on throughout the child's education. So there are elective classes that can be taken face-to-face as well for right now. We are looking at options for things like PE, art, music, and those things. Right now, we are not promising those in an electronic format or through the virtual academy, but students can take those face-to-face. So students participate in state assessment. So the mandated assessments, end of grade tests, and things of that nature. Students in online Catawba are also required to participate in those at the school level. So they will come into the building, and that's a requirement for students as well. Okay, so in addition, for our middle school students, at their schools, they have elective options that include the Career and Technical Education, or CTE courses, as well as band, chorus, etc. So they can still come into the school and take those as well. After school events, such as clubs and dances, those kinds of things. Students in online Catawba are also optionally allowed to participate in those, as well as school sports. Now, if students are in online Catawba and enrolling new into Catawba County Schools for the first time, the very first thing you're going to do when you enroll is you'll give your school's data manager your enrollment information. They're going to ask you if you want to participate in sports, and if you do, that's wonderful. You will work with the athletic director at the school to establish and maintain your eligibility for sports. Okay, for high school students, the other thing is it's a little bit different at the high school level because instead of 4 core classes, you must participate in at least 2 classes. So that flexibility is still there. You can do all online or online with face to face. And so what that might look like is that you take 2 classes, one is face to face, one is online, or maybe you want 3 or 4 classes, which our typical high school students take 4 classes. This is just to let you know that the minimum requirement is 2 courses. So optional, again, school events, dances, field trips, those kinds of things. And at high school, we know those dances include the high school prom. And so online Catawba students participate in any of those events that they would like to participate in as well. In addition, sports, band, chorus, all of those things. And there's one very important note here that I want to point out, that with transferring to online Catawba, we follow the rules that are implemented by the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. And so you would want to immediately connect with your athletic director at the high school level, because establishing eligibility is a little bit different for high schoolers. And that's based on the North Carolina High School Athletic Association rules. So you would establish that on day 1. Okay, so this is just a sample of different courses that were offered through Online Catawba to high schoolers in 2019-2020. And I just have this on the screen. This is a sample of different classes that were offered. These are high school classes. But notice here there are some classes that are also offered at the middle school level. So that's just a handful of classes, which are world history. We also offer earth science at the high school and middle school level. Those classes are high school classes, though. So typically what you see is students who are in 8th grade who need more rigor than just the 4 core classes. They can take earth science at the middle school level as a high school class, so they do get high school credit for that. So earth science, world history, we also do Spanish 1 and Spanish 2, and French 1 and French 2. Again, that's high school classes, and the rigor is high school rigor, and it's at a high school pace. So it's not all year, it's a half a year or 1 semester. So that's a really key important thing for middle school parents to understand. So again, this is just a sample. Not all of these classes will be offered again this year. This is always based on high school student interest. So what the high school students are interested in and or need. As a district, we look at that with every high school as well as at the district level. So some of the classes that are listed here, for example, personal finance, that entire curriculum is changing for 2020-21. So it would not be offered in online Catawba probably until the next year or even the year after. It's going to become part of the social studies curriculum down the road. So I think we added 6 new classes that are also not seen here, but this was just to give you a sample so that you could see what is available through online Catawba courses. Okay, this is just a list of materials that are supplied by Catawba County Schools, and this is through your base school. So again, Catawba County school students, which includes our online Catawba students, receive a K64 Chromebook, any of the curriculum materials, textbooks, workbooks, any of those things. Again, we deliver the instruction each week through the Canvas Learning Management System, and that's paid for by Catawba County Schools. We also use G Suite, which is the Google suite of tools. That's your productivity software, like word processing, spreadsheets, and those kinds of things. And then any digital tools that are supplied for our students in our seated or face-to-face classes are also provided for our online Catawba students. So you'll see, online Catawba students are Catawba County school students, and the same equipment supplies that are provided for all Catawba County school students are the same. And in that same realm, the materials that are not provided for seated students are also not provided for online Catawba students, and that's just your standard school supplies: paper, pencils, markers, notebooks, those kinds of things. Printed copies. This is a virtual academy. We also know, though, that some students just prefer paper, and that's totally fine. We just don't provide a printer or the paper for that. So if you want to print things and that's your personal preference, that's completely fine. I have listed on here also cell phones. The reason that I have cell phones here is because the Canvas learning management system offers apps for mobile devices. So there's a parent app, there's a student app, there's also a teacher app. And we hear time and again how convenient it is to just take a picture and upload it through the Canvas Learning Management System app on a phone. So that's completely great, and we love that Canvas offers that. It's completely free, but we just don't provide students with cell phones who want to use that. Okay, so again, the students are able to participate in any of the extracurricular activities, just like they are in a seated classroom. But one of the things is with our online Catawba students, they may not hear about what's happening at the school because they're not physically in the building. So I always encourage parents, make sure that you are signing up for the calls that come home. There are weekly phone calls from the physical school buildings. Make sure you sign up to be on those call lists or the email list. Follow the schools on social media. Follow the schools on Facebook, Twitter, and their school website, so that you can stay in the loop, so that you'll know when they have school dances and field trips and those kinds of things. I will be sending you information out from time to time from online Catawba, but I won't know when every school's field trips are and school dances and those things. So you'll want to stay connected as the parents and guardians of online Catawba students, so that your students can be engaged in that way as well. So that was a very quick overview of what I typically go through with our parents who tune into the Tuesday sessions. If you have questions or concerns, comments that you would like to share, I have my email address showing on the screen. You can also give me a call. I promised earlier that you would see a website for the transfer application. So if you're coming to us from a place that's outside of Catawba County, you would submit this transfer application, and the hyperlink to that is bit.ly CCS transfer app. That just gives you the application to submit as a transfer request. And you will want to use online Catawba as the reason that you are requesting a transfer. There's a box on there that just says, list the reason, and you would put online Catawba. That will help the operations department expedite that process for online Catawba transfers. I also encourage you to send me an email if you've done that, and that way I can work with the operations department in case there are any questions. It'll just give you an extra level of support for that. So I hope this was a good explanation of what we're doing, but of course, please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. We know this upcoming school year is going to be higher enrollment in online Catawba, and we're really excited about the opportunities that this is going to provide for students in Catawba County.